Hey guys, Ramblin' Man, episode 6, Solo Dolo, once again. So I had a couple people give some topics to talk about, so we're going to have a little bit of a structure with what we're going to talk about, at least when it comes to topics. I won't be rambling too much, hopefully, but we will just kind of go off whatever blows this way. And once again, if you have a particular topic or something that you want to hear talked about, then, go on our YouTube channel, send me a Facebook message or whatever, find us on Instagram, on any kind of social media platform, send us a message. You can even email me videos, articles, topics to talk about. I'll gladly read or look into whatever you want talked about, and from there we can, dive in and talk about, what I feel like I read, or I'm not an expert by any means, but the whole point of this is just commentary, exploring different concepts and ideas, getting a feel for different things, and also not taking ourselves too seriously, because life is too short. You never know what's going to happen, so you might as well make the best of it. So for this episode, we'll just start with something just a little lighthearted, I guess. Kind of weird. So I went out for a run today. I was pushing my daughter along, Maya, and I was going for a run. I got to about 3 miles and then just decided to walk the rest of the way home. Wasn't feeling too good, my body at least, so I said, you know what, I'll just walk and then just kind of, I like to just embrace like what's going around me, look around, whether I'm listening to something or not. The main thing I try to do is just try to take in everything around me and just, think, be with my thoughts, and as I'm walking, I just had the most bizarre idea. And the idea was I was looking at a tree, and then the shape of the tree to me looked exactly like a piece of grass in the ground. And this is the most bizarre thing to think about, but basically I thought to myself, we're like trees are like grass, just like in a different setting. Like if you were to look over, a bunch of trees, it would look like grass. And it was just such a weird concept to think about, is like how small we actually are in the grand scheme of things. And sometimes I like to do that too, is like look in the sky and the stars and just think, the grand scale of everything, like how small we really are. We're such a small part, yet we're still we're not important, but our consciousness and like what we're able to do is obviously very big, and we can leave an impact in the universe by going to space, and doing stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, we're very small. So that it was just weird, because I'm just walking along, I'm looking at this tree, and I'm like, wow, this looks like a piece of grass. Like if you were to just look at a bunch of trees, you could it's like, weeds growing. And it was just so weird to think about. It's like you're like an ant on Earth. And it just tripped me out for a second. It was just like made me feel very weird for a little bit. And it's the same thing like when I look in the sky and you see all these stars, you're like looking around like, holy shit, like I'm so small. Your problems are small. And like it's just an interesting concept to kind of like make you feel humble a little bit. And I don't know, I was just walking and I had that really bizarre thought pop into my head. And I don't know, it just made me feel really weird. And I don't know, I'm just curious if you guys ever have that kind of, feeling sometime, or like sometimes, or like have any thoughts that are kind of weird, like it just hits you like, wow, like, whatever it may be, it's just something that just pops in your head. You're like, what the heck? So this is something interesting to think about, that it was just completely random, and it kind of just made me feel weird. But one of the first topics that someone brought up was money. And money is a very interesting thing to me, because you need it. The world runs on money. But also, money can also be a good motivator, but it could also be something that's really bad, depending on the intent of what you want. Being rich, in theory, sounds like a really awesome thing. And, having an abundance of money would obviously be really cool. But, is it really? More money, more problems. It's a Biggie song. So, yeah, you could be richer, but is it really going to solve all your problems? So, money is a weird thing because money gets people in a lot of trouble. Money corrupts people. But we need it. So it's like a weird balance of wanting to have it so that life is better and easier, but also not becoming greedy or corrupted by it or obsessed of it. Because everybody loves the idea of being rich, have a yacht, being able to buy whatever you want. But is it really that great? And I heard something one time. I can't remember what I was watching or listening to, but it was talking about, if I recall correct, it was RZA from Wu-Tang talking about partying. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like rappers make all this money and they party all the time. But for what? There's nothing to it. There's no pleasure. You're just doing it to do it. It's the same thing like money. It's like, if you just had a lot of money, and for what? Like, to just buy whatever you wanted, there's no pleasure. Like, the hard work behind acquiring the money. If you worked hard for money and you busted your ass to get your own, then you would have an appreciation, and then there would be pleasure in acquiring it. But at some point, like, no amount of money is going to make you happy. And at the end of the day, I think money is ultimately linked to being content with what you have. And it's more of like, you understand what you have and you're happy with it. But you should never always be, you should never be satisfied. You can be content, but not satisfied. You should always be working towards better. Because if you're not getting better, then what are you doing? I've said that before on one of the previous podcasts. You always want to be getting better. So yeah, you want to be improving yourself. You want to be improving your wealth, because that means you're getting better. So you should always never be satisfied because you want to be working towards something, but you should always be content because you're working towards something, or that you've worked hard for something. So money is an interesting thing because universally, like, people it is part of our lives, and it's ingrained into our lives. And it's something that we need and we can't live without. But it's something that we shouldn't, put so high up on a pedestal, because ultimately that's not what gives you happiness. It's things that are deeper than that. And we should never really put a lot of our happiness or anything like that into material items, because it all fades away. We all die, and all those things are nothing. The material items will fade away. What matters more than anything is like the legacy, the memories, all the things that transcend the material plane that we live in. So money is a very interesting topic. I could always talk more about it. I'm not an expert on money, but money is interesting because over my life I've read, which is I'm not old or anything like that, but I'm still pretty young, but I've read quite a few things about money. Money's interesting because right now money is based off imaginary. It's not real. Whereas before, money used to be gold backed or backed by tangible items. So it's interesting, the concept of money that's now is like the American dollar and stuff like that is based off of what? It's like not real. So like when you talk about real money, not the idea of money is a bizarre thing. You're like trading and acquiring something that's not real, but you can get money, like paper money, but most of the money is not actually printed. It's like non-existent. It's just numbers on a computer, which is such a weird concept. You're basically trading imaginary for services or items. Especially nowadays, you don't really have a lot of money. A lot of people buy things online with credit cards. So it's like really is like, it's like we're like trusting the system that's like almost not real. It's a bizarre thing when you really think about it. So, I mean, money is an interesting concept. I would love to have someone who's more of an expert on money and financials and stuff like that. You know, at one point in my life, I wanted to be a financial analyst or a financial advisor, but I didn't go to college very much, so I didn't never do that. But money's very interesting. You know, stock market and all that stuff is a very interesting thing to me. So, yeah, I mean, it's just bizarre. With leading into that, also, like, contentness is important to going into the next topic, which is friendships. Friendships is something that's important because in life, you never want to do life alone. Doing life alone makes it harder. You, like, think of one branch, it's easy to break. But if you have multiple branches together, it's harder to break because it's a support system. You always have your family. You know, you don't get to choose your family. You're born into the family you're born in your blood. You know, family's important. No matter if you like them or not, they're important. And then you have your friends, which I feel like nowadays in society we have a culture, our culture in the U.S. and society these days have a weird idea of friendship. You know, we're told a lot of what friendship means or what it should be. So a lot of people have this expectation that's just not realistic, and people expect things from you that are not what they're willing to return to you in the agreement of friendship. Which ultimately, friendship is about, if I'm your friend, you know, I care about your well-being. And you would hope that the other person cares about your well-being. But at the end of the day, like, true friendship is about caring about a person without expecting anything in return. And in the grand scheme of things, it would be a two-way road. You would give freely to someone that you view as your friend because you care about them, you have similar interests. Even if you have things that you don't like, you know, oftentimes you can be friends with people that, if you're a Democrat, is Republican, or vice versa, or regardless of political leanings or religion, that shouldn't matter. You can be friends because you identify with things in common with each other, and as you become closer and friends, you start to wash away the things that you different opinion because you develop a relationship, and the relationship gets closer and closer. You know, you look past all those things that you thought were a problem or didn't agree with because you're friends. It's deeper than just, well, this person believes that. You don't have to agree with them to be their friend. You can still respect them and be open-minded with them, and you don't have to submit to what they believe or anything like that. But ultimately, you're friends with this person, and you know, when I think about friendship especially, it's like I offer to them my help, or if I offer to do something nice for them, get them a gift or take them out to dinner, I don't ever expect that in return. And I think a lot of times people, especially nowadays, have an expectation of people of what the relationship should look like without, you know, putting that aside. Everybody should be going into a relationship with each other, giving freely with no, you know, well, I bought you dinner, you owe me dinner, and that's never going to foster a good relationship. And on that premise, it's always the same, you know, when you offer help to somebody, really what you're trying to do, in my opinion, is like be the friend that you wish. Like if you needed somebody, we talked about this before, if you needed somebody, you know, you want to be the person that you would need. You know, if you were young, if you recall when you were younger and you needed somebody in your life, you want to be that person that you needed to someone else. And then at the end of the day, you know, you would hope that also that it would be reciprocated. But if it's not, that's okay. You're going to find who your true friends are. And another thing I think people get mistaken is they think that people are their friend because they tell them what they always want to hear. True friendship, in my opinion, is far harder to find because you need people that are willing to tell you the truth and be honest with you, even though it may be hard and it may be difficult to accept, but they're going to tell you the truth and they're going to be honest with you. And you'll be like, hey man, you really effed up. Like, that wasn't the right thing to do. And that is true friendship because they're not blowing smoke up your ass. They're not telling you what you want to hear. They're actually telling you what's going to help you be a better person and help you in life. And ultimately, that's what's important, is you want people that are going to help you through this journey of life. Like I said, you don't want to be going through this alone. And those people that are just going to always tell you what you want to hear, when things get tough, they're not going to be around. They're not going to know what to do. When you find people that are strong and willing to stick with you through thick and thin and not ask anything of it or anything like that, those are the people that are worth it. The people that are true friends, that are going to be honest with you. And those are the people that you should lean on and pour into as well. If you have a friend that's like that, it's important that, you let them know, like, hey, I'm thankful for you. I love you, man. Like, you're one of my best friends. I can always count on you. Like, and you let them know, like, sometimes people, go unappreciated. They do a lot, and it never hurts to let them know. Do something nice for them, and always try to be there for them. Check up on them. We talked about on the previous podcast as well, as like, check up on your friends. You think about them, like, hey, just shoot them a text. You never know what's going on. There might be a reason why they popped into your mind. So friendships is something that we could dive really deep into. I feel like that's something that, like, talking with another person would be really good too as well. But generally, like, friendships are a beautiful thing, and so sometimes it's good to, spend time with those people, make time for people. I always feel guilty that sometimes, like, when you have a family, it's hard because it's a balancing of life. But sometimes I always feel bad whenever I can't get a chance to, hang out with people that I otherwise would have liked to, and it's not that I don't want to, it's just that life is crazier. And I think that that's part of friendship too, is like understanding that life changes for people. You may have a friend that you may not hang out with as much anymore, but they're still there. They're still always one phone call, text away. But life changes, and you have to also be understanding. You have to be on the other side of that to understand that things change. You get married, they have kids, or you never know. Like, things just change over time, and you have to be open to that and understand that. So friendship, it's important. Don't take it for granted. I don't know. It's really hard to really have really good friends, but when you have them, don't take it for granted. It's very hard to find true friendship nowadays. A lot of people live in this illusion, or they think that they know what friendship is. A lot of people think they know what love is, but they don't. It's circumstantial. It depends on how you're feeling that day, when that's not really how it works. So just keep that in mind. Friendship is important. And you always want to try to work on being a better friend to your friends. And then if you're on the other end, like, how can you make yourself be better? And then the last thing that we will touch on today is addiction. And addiction is an interesting one because I have an addictive personality. My dad was an alcoholic addict. So personally, I have seen it in my life in different ways. I definitely have an addictive personality because anytime I find something I'm fascinated with or really enjoy it, I become obsessed with it and I can be focused on it. So it's hard to battle that because, like, I know that it's something that's in me. I know that it's something that I like have to battle with. But it's just interesting because my dad was an alcoholic for, I don't know how long it actually was, but I remember at the apparently there's a roach. Who cares? It's just a roach. There's a roach. Oh my God, there's a roach. But serious topic. Addiction. My dad was addicted he was an alcoholic and addict to different substances. That's a story that I'm sure my dad will be on the podcast eventually. He could talk about his story, but it was just an interesting thing growing up with. Because like I saw the destruction of addiction and what it can do to you and your relationships and how it can make you act, and it was something that as being young, like in middle school and seeing stuff like that, him being drunk and acting a fool, it just really made me like realize like, man, is this really something that I want to do? Do I want to drink? And I think from a young age I decided that I didn't want to drink. So did I drink as younger? I did a couple times, but I decided to never drink. And now I don't drink at all. And it's funny because Chris D'Elia has a stand-up and he talks about, not drinking, and everybody makes jokes. And it is like that for me as well. It was like, not even a little bit? Not even on special occasions? No, I don't drink. I don't like drinking. It tastes awful to me now. It tastes god-awful. And I just don't feel like I miss out on anything. I can still hang out with people that drink, and it's fine. Even though sometimes it can get a little rough if they're getting a little crazy. With some people who are good at drinking, even if they get drunk, they're not that bad. But some people, when they drink a little too much, it's hard to be around. Then I decided that I wasn't going to, at the time, I wasn't going to drink or do any kind of drugs or anything like that. And then I made a couple of mistakes in high school when it came to the wacky tobacco. But from a young age, because of what I saw, it made me be smarter about my decisions about what I would do with my life. And a lot of times people that know people with addiction, they are scared of becoming that, and they do. So it's just very interesting because like the thing you're most afraid of is what you become. And that didn't happen to me, but it just was like I just made a conscious decision. Like, I don't hate my dad. I love my dad to death. Even at those times, like I still didn't think anything poorly of him or anything like that. And I just decided like I just gonna avoid that altogether. And I know to this day that I have like the addictive personality because it doesn't matter what I like, video games, music, whatever. I have this like, it particularly happens with me, especially like with stuff that interests me when it comes to like knowledge and articles and stuff. I'll just go on a bender and just read a bunch of stuff and videos, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I just am determined to like find out as much as I can. It's a bad thing because sometimes, you go on this rabbit hole and then like you can just like be obsessed about one side of the story, which is I try to challenge myself a lot to like explore every different avenue. You got to be open-minded. You can't just be focused on one side. So when it comes to the addiction and like addictive personality, I know I have it. And the worst is because like sugary stuff. I am a glutton for like sweets. Cookies, brownies, ice cream, you name it. And like I just go out of control. I have no self-control. If it's in the house, I'll eat it, and I'll eat a lot of it. If there's a plate full of brownies, I'll eat them all. Like there's no stopping it. It just is gonna happen. So for me, I just be proactive. If I know I'm gonna indulge and I know I can't control myself around it, then just don't put yourself around it. So I tell my wife, we need to get rid of it tonight, or don't buy it. So I think, like, when it comes to addiction, you have to know yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Like, if you know you can't handle yourself around it, then don't put yourself around it. If you know if you're hanging around people that are going to make you drink and do drugs and stuff like that, then don't do it, especially if it's in a destructive way. I think some people are responsible and can smoke or drink fine, but that's not the case for everybody. You have to be honest with yourself. Are you that person, or are you an addictive person and destructive? And, like, you just have to be smart about the reality of, you know, are you addictive and destructive, and just be proactive and smart about it. And I think for me, that's like been the biggest thing that's helped me all this time is, you know, knowing, you know, I'm not kidding myself. You know, if I were to drink, I would be belligerent and an idiot. I'm already kind of crazy. I would be super crazy drinking. So, like, you just have to be honest with yourself. Like, can you not handle it or not? You know, you have to be okay with looking at yourself in the mirror and being honest. And if you do have addiction and you're honest with yourself, then seek help. You know, there's people that are willing to help you, and, you know, you can't do it by yourself. So, yeah, these are 3 really deep topics, which is interesting because I thought I was going to get some funnier stuff or ridiculous stuff like, you know, I don't know, Wuhan, bats, or I don't know. But I'm open to any topics. Like I said, if you're listening on YouTube, just drop a comment, topics you want to hear, drop a like, subscribe for more content. I'm going to consistently be putting out podcasts every week. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or any of the streaming services, go ahead and subscribe, follow, give us a rating, and keep following along. And thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to me ramble on and on. Until next time.